Well, this guy was not one of those.
Yeah, yeah. It's a more modern incarnation, I guess.
Yeah. But hey, we are live.
Phenomenal.
It is time. 7 for us, but due to the show schedule, it is 9 p.m. That's when we start. Welcome to Super Serial Showtime, everyone. As always, I am your host, The Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer, who is not in the building, but,
Yeah.
that's standard.
What else is new?
Yeah. Well, what's new is that we swapped over our second stream from Twitch over to Kick because I'm just kind of fed up with Twitch. So we're back on Kick now. So that will be
Sweet.
potentially 2 new audience members. Who knows? Whatever.
Watch will just explode and go millions of viewers.
I highly doubt that, but it'd be cool. I'd be happy if we got like 10 new viewers, But
yeah,
as
it does
always,
seem
we're
like,
on YouTube as well.
It does seem like Kick can get us potentially faster growth than Twitch anyway.
Yeah, well, Twitch almost has anti-discovery.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there.
Basically, if you don't stream like for 8 hours a day every single day, you just disappear.
Yeah. Just how it goes there,
Yeah.
But anyway, we're here to talk about serials. Well, actually, I say that just because it was a catchy show title. Half the stuff we talk about doesn't actually fit the qualification of a serial. Though we might talk a little bit about Squid Game, which does fit the qualification of a serial. Though not all of it, because we haven't finished the season yet.
Yeah, I don't know if we're even halfway through.
Yeah, I didn't bother to look how many episodes there were. I have heard some very, very mixed opinions about the ending, though. I intentionally have not looked at what those mixed opinions are for because, I'm not that invested, but heck, I'm watching it. I might as well wait to see it myself before diving in, right?
I'm not super against spoilers, but
You're breaking up on me a little bit.
Sorry. You stop talking to me.
I sure I do,
I think I missed my turn.
Oh, there we go. I can hear you a little better now. What were you trying to say before missing your turn?
I guess I was saying I'm not like I don't freak out if I get if I hear spoilers. It would be more fun, I guess, to find out for ourselves what happens.
Oh yeah. Like, I think I only spoilers do bother me. I'm the type of person that I am bothered by spoilers, but like I need to have a certain level of investment into something for it to bother me, right? Like at this point, if somebody did tell me what the ending of Squid Game was, I don't think I'd care because I was never that invested, even from the beginning. I only even watched like 2 and as much as 3 as we did because you were watching it. It's like, okay, well, it's something to watch and it'll give us something to talk about. But also spoilers can remove my investment from something. Like if I'm thinking of getting into something and somebody just spoils it for me, like, okay, well now I'm probably just not going to get into it.
Yeah. I don't remember, like, we were in the middle of one of the games. Did they finish that one?
No, we were in the middle of the jump rope game.
Okay. Because I was trying to think, like, wait, what happened at the end of the? Did I miss it? No, I hadn't come to it yet.
Yeah.
So.
I also realized, like, I'm the biggest hypocrite on that, too. Hopefully people who watch us don't give a shit about spoilers, because we spoil almost everything in everything we talk about every single time. I should, like, anytime we talk about something, I should just put, like, a big spoilers on the screen, like, just so people know to jump out.
Yeah. At least, mute it until the sign goes away.
Mm-hmm. What's up with Marsupial's mic? I don't know. He's on his phone. We don't even know which mic it's using. It could be his phone mic. It could be his AirPods,
I think it's the AirPods, but my windows are open, so I'll close them in a second.
That might have something to do with it. Yeah. But yeah, I will say I've enjoyed this season, and I enjoyed season 2 more than I enjoyed the first one, at least. And I think it's because, and I've said this before, for a lot of the audience that really likes Squid Game, it's their first kind of like Death Games series, right? So for me, season 1 of Squid Game was old hat. You know, like I've watched a lot of anime. There's a few of them that are like that. I've played games that are like Danganronpa is a Death Games visual novel game. So for me, there wasn't anything new about it. It was mildly interesting, but I couldn't get into it. But once we get into season 2, we start complicating things on top of the Death Games. And season 3 is obviously just continuing season 2. They're more like one conjoined story. So I have found it more interesting than I found the first season.
Okay. Yeah, I think so too. I don't really remember any of the characters from season 1 except, the main character and like the old guy. But they weren't particularly interesting characters, and they all died off. So
Yeah.
definitely more invested in each individual, a bit more unique characters.
It's hard to get invested in characters when you know that, like, maybe it could be different in this one, but basically everyone but one person is going to be dead at the end.
Yeah. That is true. And I guess shouldn't be surprised that some seemingly main characters have already died, so
yeah.
We'll see.
It's almost like a horse race, right? Where it's like you're betting on one of them, like you're rooting for the one to make it all the way to the end.
Yeah.
But like season 2 kind of almost upsets that because this might be why it's controversial. I don't know. But you're kind of like expecting that the main character, I forget his name, who won the first one, is probably going to win the second one too, right? Like he's the focus of the whole show. You expect he's probably going to make it all the way through the end of the show.
Yeah, and they kind of, he's trying to save some of the other people. So I don't, at least in the first or the second season, it looked like it was possible that maybe more than one would get out of there alive. It's hard to say now.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. I expect we'll probably finish it sometime this week because there's not a lot left, and it's just kind of what we've defaulted to watching while eating.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of nice that we have something definitive to watch for. Before it was kind of like,
you go to watch Inuyasha again.
That's fine. Yeah.
Which I will never say no to.
Right.
I've watched through Inuyasha like 7 or 8 times. I'll watch through it another 7 or 8 times. It never bothers me.
Well, that monster, which at the beginning didn't expect it to be so long. So I don't know how much
I told you what the episode count was before we even started it.
Well, I forgot.
Yeah.
Is my mic any better now?
I mean, you're being picked up consistently at the very least.
Okay.
Yeah, I am.
Alrighty. Well,
yeah.
Did you want to get more into that, or do you want to come back to Squid Game?
I don't really have too much to say about it until it's over. I feel like we'll probably get back into it more next week, unless you have more to say about it, which I'm willing to entertain it more if you do.
Yeah, we can hold off. I mean, we can wait until we've seen the end before we spoil it for everyone.
Yeah. Apparently, I was reading that because I didn't look at any of the previews. I didn't even look at the Netflix preview before watching it. Like we just kind of went straight into it, without letting that thing play. Apparently, not but days after it launched, Netflix already spoiled the end of the series. In their
So glad we didn't watch it.
Yeah.
Well, I remember seeing the jump rope scene in maybe the very beginning of a preview or trailer or something. But I don't remember anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'll avoid that trailer then.
Yeah, it's just like MASH. Just go straight into the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did have the big news. I told you about it before we hopped on. It's very sad news. But legendary comic creator Jim Shooter passed away. I think it's either today or last night, but the news came out today. It wasn't necessarily a bad age. A very ripe old age of 73. You know, it's like making it 2 years past the average for an American man.
Really?
71.
There's only 70. Something longer than that.
I mean, maybe it's gone up in the last decade, and I haven't been paying attention. Medicine has been getting better. But I remember when I was in high school looking at averages, 71 was the average age for like an American male.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, that's interesting. Male average life expectancy is 75.8 years.
Oh, it's went up some. Cool. I mean, that's just medicine getting better.
Yeah, and for women, it's 81.1. Wow.
Women's always had almost a decade on men. Ever since we solved a lot of death through childbirth, right? The thing that was always keeping women's average down was death in childbirth. If you made it past that, women were still outliving men, but it was just like if you couldn't, that was the big filter there.
Yeah. I guess better more prone to disease.
Oh, you're breaking up again.
Risky behavior. Is it better like this?
A little.
Is it any different?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. Apparently, I'm using the microphone on the phone, so I'll just hold that up to my face.
Okay. But yeah. Between risk-taking behavior in men, but also just different biological reasons. Like we're also just more likely to die of a heart attack when we're younger too. You know, men are more likely to have high blood pressure, all kinds of things. Where also not even just risk-taking behavior, but having to have more risky lives. Laborers end up dying because they work dangerous jobs, right? Just in general.
Generally riskier.
Yeah.
Riskier careers, I suppose. I wonder how much of that was like just generally being larger, just more likely to
probably
more brain in your heart.
Because on average, larger people just don't live as long.
Anyway, back to Jim Shooter.
Yes, back to Jim Shooter. So, you had no idea who he was when I brought him up. Not surprised.
Yeah,
I
heard the name.
I say this all the time. Most people have no clue what the names of the people who write the comics, sometimes even the books that they read, right? Like you could put out the name of a famous novel, like a famous one that everybody had to read in school, and half of the people don't know the name of the author who wrote that novel that they read. That's just how things go.
I don't know. I'm pretty familiar with the authors of any given novel. So.
Yeah. You also spend more time in a novel than you do in a comic, though, which probably helps. Yeah.
But also just because, there's only one person who's going to be writing, born identity books, right? There's not going to be
or maybe you might
five
have
different people.
A pair of people at most. Like there's a lot of books that are like two people, but you don't have like a writer, an artist, maybe the multiple artists. You might have a penciler, an inker, a colorist. You might have like a different letterer on there too. There's going to be an editor. There might be anywhere between 4 to 10 names in a comic book.
Yeah, but also, I mean, I wasn't referring to that. I was referring to like over time. Like,
Oh yeah, and
I like
overtime.
I,
Yeah.
I like Spider-Man. How many people have written, drawn, been involved in some sort of Spider-Man comic book?
Yeah, like they define it by runs. It's like, when did this person have their run? How many years were
Yeah.
they on it? What years and everything? Which is one of the ways you would define shooter. Shooter is one of the most defining names, I would say, in modern comics. His era was kind of like from the well, he was working on it way earlier than this. Like he did stuff in the 70s, but I would say the actual era for him defined his work would have been between like 85 to maybe the turn of the millennia, like 2000.
For
He still worked on stuff
for what?
well after for a lot of things actually. Like
Or,
he
like for
published
which
stuff.
company?
Well, that's what I'm saying. A lot of them. So he was in Marvel. He was in DC. He was in Valiant. Like he had different careers at different stages of his lives. Um,
Yeah.
most of the stuff I
See,
know
I
I read from
figure.
him was Marvel, which was going back. He did a lot of Marvel stuff in like the 80s and early 90s.
See, I probably read him, but see, I figure if you don't know who wrote it, then they're probably doing something right.
Yeah,
Because
probably.
the only reason I would want to know who wrote something would be if they're terrible.
Yeah.
I never want to read another Tom King comic book ever again. So, for
Yep.
instance,
So like a lot of his career started though back in DC. Like he was at well, was DC to start? Some of his earliest stuff was DC, which where he basically started in the late '60s. He carried some of his stuff almost up to the '70s while DC. So he kind of worked there for a few years, not even a whole decade. Then he
Mhm.
bounced around. He was at Marvel for a really long time. Like I said, he's got stuff from the like mid '70s up to the '90s. I think he might have had like one or two things that happened during
Yeah.
the very early '90s. But right around the '90s, he jumped over and he was working at like Valiant Comics a lot during the '90s, Defiant Comics. He did some stuff with Dark Horse, kind of within the last decade. But he was somebody he just continued working in comics basically his entire life since he started.
So, what would he have written for Valiant?
For
I might
Valiant,
recognize.
let's see. I actually have his bibliography in front of me. He did Archer and Armstrong, Eternal Warrior, Harbinger, Magnus Robot Fighter. He worked on the Nintendo Comic System #1 as an artist.
Oh,
Funny
okay.
enough, which is I don't know which stuff he drew in there, but he did work on Nintendo Comic System #1, which would have included a Captain N. So maybe he was an artist for Captain N at that time.
Oh,
Um, we had he worked on Rai, Shadow Man, Solar, Man of the Atom, Unity, World Wrestling Federation, and XO Man of War. Those were the things he did at Valiant.
I don't know any of those.
Yeah.
Well, so I probably grew up with a lot of Jim Shooter comics if it was mostly Marvel,
Yeah.
but honestly, I didn't get into it all that much until probably around 1995, unfortunately. So I don't know if it's someone else from that point, but
Oh yeah, Fish Shows also brings
I would
up a
have.
good thing that I didn't mention before. Jim Shooter, one of the reasons he was so impactful at Marvel at that time is because he was editor in chief for like a good chunk of the '80s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so
Yeah,
even if you didn't read a particular book, he probably impacted what you were reading anyway.
yeah. Back then they didn't even put the creators on the cover, or if they did, they were very small writing.
For
Usually
the
they'd
most
be on the
part,
inside cover.
yeah. On the inside front cover, there'd be art around it, and you'd see like a little credits thing.
Yeah. You pick up a book and it'd be like, yeah, just easy to skip that page with the actual creators.
But that's the thing about Jim is that he was both a writer and an artist. So, like, I think that was one of the things that made his stuff so good is as an artist, when he did go to writing, he knew what an artist would be looking for, which is something that
Yeah.
I think always ends up making a better comic for the reader's experience. It may not make the better story, but because it's a visual medium and a lot of like the layout of a comic is more important to the entertainment, I think writer artists tend to make better comic creators.
That would make sense.
Yeah. And he actually worked on Spectacular Spider-Man during that time too, from like 77 to 81, which would have been setting up a lot of the stuff through the 80s. And he was even a layout artist in it.
Did he create certain characters like 77 to 81? Would that be around the time like Venom was created, or I feel like it
No, I
might
think it'd be
be?
a little bit after that, maybe. Because
Yeah,
yeah, it
okay.
would definitely be after that. Because Venom, I think, does he come after Secret Wars? Because I know
I
Secret Wars
suppose.
is when Black Suit Spider-Man kind of like popped up, and then they kind of
Right.
like explained it after that. Which he did work on Secret Wars and Secret Wars 2 in the mid '80s.
Yeah, it used to be, I guess, sort of a surprise to me sometimes when certain characters or storylines I find out that, when they came out, and like, really? It was that early?
Yeah, yeah.
Believe it. Yeah. I don't know what, I mean, I'm sure there were members of, because Spider-Man is such a humongous rogues gallery.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure it came up with a lot of characters. Maybe Black Cat or, uh, I don't know.
Well, and even if he didn't come up with it, he was probably the one that had to approve them. You know,
Yeah.
especially having the job of like EIC. It's like you're the one that has to make sure that everything kind of falls in line with the current vision of the company.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know how he passed away. I just saw that he did. I'd probably have to actually pull up an article on it. I'm not sure. A lot of times they do tell you, like, by the time it's announced, they have the cause of death. But sometimes somebody's death is announced before the cause. Let me
Yeah.
see if I can
I
find
mean, most likely either cancer or just heart failure at that age,
it. Yeah.
I would think. Not a lot of, getting trampled by a lot of elephants or anything.
Yeah.
Are you looking at that?
I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, when you said Jim Shooter, I thought, well, wait, is that like a golf pro or? No, wait, that's Shooter McGavin.
It's not even a real person.
Or it could have been I don't know, the director or something.
Yeah, I don't think his cause of death is public information. At least
Okay.
the first 5 or 6 articles I'm seeing doesn't have it, so maybe it is, and I'm just not seeing it. It's not something that is currently being widely reported on. You're seeing like comic book resources, Bleeding Cool, stuff like that are talking about it. Maybe it'll come up somewhere else later.
Doesn't really matter.
No.
Obviously, he was in an advanced stage, and things happen.
Yeah, realistically, he probably just died of a heart attack. That's how the vast majority of people are gonna go.
Yeah, stroke, something like that.
Yeah, some heart-related disease that ends up causing the brain to go kaput.
Yeah, I'm sorry for Jim Shooter fans. But was he working? You said he was working almost very
I
recently.
haven't seen anything from him in a few years. Like he was working in the tens,
Yeah.
but like I think the last thing I saw that he was even remotely attached to was like 2015. So he probably hasn't been working for a bit.
Yeah. I hear that Marvel is terrible with like royalties compared to DC.
Yeah, yeah.
There, like they just don't do nearly as good deals
Yeah,
DC does.
but here's the thing: for somebody who was EIC as long as he was, he probably had a
Mhm.
pension from them.
No, I guess so.
Right? It wasn't like he was just a normal writer or artist or something. Like he was actually in like an executive position.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, the
I can
last
I
stuff
get
I
that.
saw was Dark Horse in the early 2010s. So
Okay. What did he do? Anything interesting in Dark Horse?
no, not particularly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I'm sure it was good. It just wasn't interesting.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. But
I
yeah,
don't have much more to say about that.
yeah. Rest in peace, Sailor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. There was actually something cool I saw. If we want to transition from sad notes to something cooler, so we got a shot of the Hall of Justice for the new DC universe, like the live action stuff, and I really
Okay.
liked it. I'm being very questionable about almost everything I see from James Gunn, but this I thought was a really good idea because the shot was literally of Cincinnati Union Terminal, which is the building the original Hall of Justice was inspired by. So it's not
Oh,
as big as the Hall of Justice is. It's like maybe a story or so smaller, but like outside of building a one-to-one Hall of Justice yourself, this is the best thing you can do is go to the actual building that it was historically based on.
yeah. Are they going to film there, or have they been filming
I
there?
think it's just for the exterior, but yeah, I think the exterior shots are going to be filmed there. They even
Do they have some?
digitally engraved the words Hall of Justice onto the arch of the station.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I
Do
think
they
it's
have
better.
a narrator saying, "Meanwhile, all
Oh,
of
there should be.
justice"?
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice, there should be.
So this is just for Superman at the moment, right?
I think so. I think that's what it's going to be in. Because, I don't know, do they really have a Justice League yet? Because that's not like the
I
crew
don't know.
that's dealing with him. It's probably for what's happening immediately afterwards. Maybe it's at the end
Oh,
of
okay.
Superman. I really don't know. Nor do I care. I just thought it was like really, really cool that they did that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Why did they, like, in the cartoons, they decided to do a Hall of Justice in space?
oh, like the Watchtower. That's because like
Yeah.
they did that later on in the comics too. So it's like,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I guess they called it the Watchtower.
But I like it because I like practical sets when you can do it. I think it would just be
Yeah.
kind of tacky if you just digitally created the Hall of Justice.
Yeah. Or made it out of paper mache.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's just make a model.
Yeah. It's only a bottle.
Model sets are great though. Like I think like if you know how to film them and you know the tricks to making things look realistic, model sets are great.
Yeah. I was shocked when I found out that the entire New York library in that new Ghostbusters movie was totally digital. Just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's one big green screen. I was like, really? That's yeah. Why didn't they just film it there? In the original, they filmed at the library.
So part of it was for control, right? And they do have
Yeah.
shots of the exterior of that actual library that are composited in. But part of
Yeah.
it is like actually being able to control the destruction of the environment. Like there's parts of the steps that the concrete that gets torn up and everything.
Yeah.
It's just having total control of the environment, and I kind of get that. It's
Yeah.
just My
not the
problem
same.
is more of wanting the control because you don't know what you're going to do with the scene until afterwards, which I don't think was actually the problem with Ghostbusters there. But if it was like a Marvel
Mhm.
film, that would have been the case, where they'll have like 5 or 6 different possible shots that they would want to do, and they don't know what it's going to be until the end. Um,
Yeah.
but if you have like really well-defined direction and
Hmm.
synchronicity between the people capturing the footage, even if they're like on a blue screen or whatever, and then the people actually doing the compositing and the digital editing later, then you can have like a good shot, and that's perfectly fine. And it's nice to have control because you're like, hey, we want to blow that wall up, but we obviously can't blow a real wall up to do that.
Right. Yeah, is the all justice going to get blown up or damaged in some way?
Isn't it more expensive to use CGI than to film a real building? Fizchozo asks. It's like, yes, unless that real building is historical and you can't afford to damage it, or if there's too much traffic on at that building and it's hard to close down, which is again another control reason. It's like CGI more expensive, sure, but you have to think about all the other things that you're having to juggle with if you want to film at a real building.
Yeah. I'll have to look that up, but I don't know. I'm very anxious about the Superman movie.
Oh
Seems like
yeah.
so. If the leaks are true, it doesn't seem very good.
I think I've said this before already. The more I learn about this movie, the less I want to see it. Like, if it was just a single trailer, if nobody ever talked about the movie, I probably would have went to go see it. But then I just keep seeing more and more. It's like, man, I don't want to watch this movie.
Yeah. And is it? I mean, they're not going to do an origin story again, are they? I mean,
I don't
are they going to start?
think so. It's
Are they going
definitely
to start with
early.
Superman and Lois together already?
That I'm not sure. I know they're at least kind of together early in the movie. Like she knows that everybody wants to skip the whole Lois finding out that Superman is Clark and vice versa, right? They're
Yeah.
pre-Superman. They just want to jump straight to like she knows they're doing it in multiple ways. But she's interviewing him in that one thing. So obviously she already knows he's Superman. They kind of have some type of relationship or rapport with each other.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. I really just don't like that. I feel like it just takes a lot out of Superman for Lois to know.
Really?
Oh,
I
yeah, yeah.
guess. Yeah. Well, well, I don't know. I don't think I care. I've seen, like most of the Superman, animated series. She did not know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, just gonna
Most
find
of
out eventually.
Superman's history, she didn't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's in the name of skipping stuff we've already seen. I wouldn't be opposed to just skipping that thing.
Thing about it, and I used to think this when I was younger, but then like the older I got, the further away I got from is like no, it makes sense. A lot of people don't believe that Clark could keep it a secret from Lois because she's supposed to
I
be like the
guess.
best reporter on like the entire planet. And like I used to have that opinion when I was younger, but then like the more I read, not just like of Superman, but of psychology in general, and the more I got involved, it's like no, especially given who Clark is and all the circumstances, it would take a
Mhm.
miracle for Lois to find out as long as he was still careful about it. And I think that playful thing about being careful about it was one of the fun aspects of Superman.
Yeah, and I mean, he intentionally tries to make himself practically invisible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of bums around and does his job, and
Yeah, well,
he
he's
doesn't
got two
like
things going for him,
stand.
right?
Yeah,
Number one is what you just mentioned is that the demeanor, behavior, and profile of Clark doesn't match what people expect of Superman. The other one
Mhm.
is that most people shouldn't even have a reason to expect that Superman has like an alter ego.
You tend to see what you want to see.
Yeah.
And so you see this nerdy guy, and he, plus she sees him as a bit of a rival.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, he doesn't. I mean, in some iterations, he sort of expresses interest and like asks her out on a date and stuff. But you know, she's also kind of self-centered.
Yeah.
And hold on, I'm gonna leave and come back because I'm here. Hold on.
I got clipped. No.
All right, can you still hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I figured I would lose audio, you wouldn't be able to hear me. That always happens. So yeah, she's not, she's obsessed with Superman and ignores him. So, and he doesn't really stand out. He tries not to stand out.
Well, and Superman writers have kind of pointed this out many times over the years, and people just kind of ignore it, right? You've got examples where LexCorp's machine that doesn't have like human, well, it would have some level of human bias to it, but it's a little more cold and calculating than a human's emotional input, profiles and actually spits out Clark Kent as Superman, and Lex Luthor ignores it because he's like, Superman, why would he have a human identity? He's a god flying around. Like, why would he ever do anything like that? And you also have like Lois and Clark, where Lois is describing like Superman's features to the police sketch artist, and every time she describes him, he's like, "Oh, like Clark. Oh, like Clark. Oh, like Clark," and he like draws Superman, and it's basically Clark without the glasses on. It's like, no, you got it all wrong.
Yeah, I don't remember that one. Yeah, that show's often had some comedy like that.
But like this gets put in over and over again, and it's like there's nobody has any reason to believe that Superman would even have a normal human identity because he is basically just a god flying around. So you already have to jump over that step. Something has to happen to give you the inclination that he has two lives. Maybe you see him and Clark kind of like fade in and out of an area one after each other, right? Or like there's just some coincidence. Then you might start thinking about that. Or if for some reason a police report found one of Clark's hair at the scene when he shouldn't even have been around. Like there's a lot of reasons that could come up, but they shouldn't just be like, oh, obviously she's going to suspect that. Why? Right? And I think a lot of people can't take their perspective as the audience member away from like what the people in the series should know.
Mm. Well, but it still wouldn't bother me if he already knew at the start of the movie, or I like either iteration of Lois because there's been both from various media where she knows or doesn't know. They're together or they're not together.
I think the relationship becomes is like better when she like has to figure it out over the long run.
Yeah. Oh, it was very quick. Like basically, she like in the other movies, she knows immediately. Like she meets Superman first, so it's kind of odd.
Yeah, I think that's also just like one of the big problems with putting these heroes in movies, right? Because we have to rush everything. It's not like the comic where you can have like 100 issues going over this stuff before something happens. We have to get everything done in an hour and a half or like 3 hour-and-a-half movies or whatever the timeline is. We don't have the luxury of playing things out slow.
Mm-hmm. And in the previous ones, it's
I guess he's changing devices. At least do this for now. Fischosa says, I never questioned why people would buy Clark's disguise. Nobody even knows Superman isn't a god. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm saying. Is like, They don't even know that he's from space. Like, this is a guy who's here suddenly, right? He could be a god. He could be an alien with powers. He could be a human that ascended to that power. Nobody, like, for a long time, absolutely nobody knows who or what Superman is other than he's a dude in a cape flying around saving people and he calls himself Superman. Actually, I think originally he didn't even call himself Superman. It was a name thrown at him. And he just took it because it's like, why wouldn't you just take the name that everybody's shouting at you? But it's like, nobody knew what he was. Your headphones cut out in the middle of a sentence. Oh, okay. But like people just jump. They take massive leaps in logic. All because it's like, well, I've got this information. I'm the reader. Well, you know who's not the reader? The people in the story. It's like, you have a fun conversation. You could do this with, like, every horror movie. And a lot of horror movies are based on, like, the main characters being stupid. But aside from that, you always have your friends like, oh, I wouldn't have done that. You have to, like, pressure them. Like, what would you have done differently? Given that you only have the same information that the character has, what would you have done differently?
I'm back.
You back? Yeah.
You know, we're kind of small. Can you make us bigger on the screen?
I already did.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
No, I just made me small for a bit to the single row was easier to flip out because I split in half every single time you leave.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, yeah. In the movies, I guess the original and then up through
Like the Donner
Superman
films?
Returns. Yeah. Like she didn't know the whole time. I mean, except when she figures it out, but then he somehow erases her memory.
Yeah. Like
kissing
she
around
knew
forehead.
for most of 2, and then that kind of goes away. And
Yeah. But then she didn't again.
Yeah.
In Superman Returns, even though she has a child. So, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. There are shots in this new movie that are appealing to me when I look at the trailers. But then, like, everything else I see is just like, why? Why do we need to cram, like, 5 different other superpowered characters into this movie, right? Why does it need to be a movie about social media not liking Superman? Why does this need to happen? Why can't we just have a straightforward Superman movie plot, you know? It's kind of like what I liked about Man of Steel, even though Man of Steel still did do that thing where Lois just kind of knew who Superman was from the beginning. But at least that one was a little all right because she was like tracking this mysterious figure down. I kind of was okay with that route of her knowing before she even knew who Clark really was. Because at least they were still involving the investigative journalism aspect to it.
Yeah, and they got right into sort of the superpowered beings and a you know, a good sort of plot generally. So didn't bother me too much.
Yeah, and like the actual crux of the movie was more about, which I guess you could do this in the social media one. It just sounds stupid. It was more about Clark's crisis of like his internal, should I do this? What am I supposed to do? Which is fine. The humanizing part of Superman is to reflect on what's going on inside of him. But,
yeah, I suppose that was kind of. I don't know.
Well, especially because he's not Superman.
I'm
yet,
sure
really,
millions of
right?
other
So
people.
We're looking at how he becomes Superman.
Yeah. There's obviously some pretty dumb aspects of it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying Man of Steel was a
Overall.
flawless movie by any degree, but I'm saying these are some of the things I thought worked well for it.
Yep. Well, I can't wait to see that Hall of Justice.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you could see the shots of it now. Actually, I think it dropped one. Did it drop it in the Discord? You might be able to just like jump into the comic section of the Discord and see it.
Okay.
But it is literally just the Cincinnati Union Terminal, but with the Hall of Justice digitally made into it. The engraving looks good too. Like it looks very natural. Digital effects have come a really, really long way. Listen, if I was like the person in charge of Cincinnati, right? Like I don't know, the mayor or whatever, I would have like commissioned to try to get that engraved onto it half a century ago. You know, like
really.
This would be such a good attraction for our city, since this is what the famous Hall of Justice is based on.
Yeah. Well, like, I was trying to find a cartoon, the cartoon version, and because this one is just so, it's so monotone. I wonder if they're going to make it any more colorful than that.
Maybe, I don't know. As you know, the sad part is like that's what the building actually looks like. They could do some effects to it, but
yeah. I guess the building in the Super Friends was pretty.
It was almost
monotone.
white.
It's just it had a big.
And
it had a big statue in the front.
Yeah, it had a nice like pool, like a fountain in front of it too.
Oh, yeah.
Which, if you zoom back, the Cincinnati Union Terminal also looks very colorful because there's usually like a flower garden in front of it too. It's just that this is a really close-up shot of it.
Yeah.
No, not in Young Justice. The Hall of Justice from the Super Friends, which like what was that, back in the 50s or I forgot when that came out.
Super Friends. No, that was like early 80s.
80s?
Maybe late 70s.
I don't remember. I wasn't around then, so I'm just watching reruns, and I'm sure I looked it up at one point in time, but anything before a certain point just feels like it's forever ago.
Yeah, I guess 1973 to 85.
73? Okay, yeah. The 70s sounds a little bit more. But it ran into the 80s still.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
I've been in front of a scale replica of it. I think it's not like even just a half scale. I think it's like either a 1/4 or 1/3 scale. But Six Flags Over Texas in Arlington has a scale Hall of Justice that usually has an attraction you can go into. It's almost like a museum, like a walking tour thing. We wanted to go into it the last time we were there, but it was closed because the air conditioner was broken inside of it. It's like, damn it. That's the exact reason why we wanted to go into the Hall of Justice, was because of the air conditioning. You know, whereas it's Texas in the summertime. But I have actually a picture, I think, on my Instagram of Buck and I standing in front of the Hall of Justice, just because it's like it's a cool thing to take a picture of.
See, they should have panned out because now if you look up the Cincinnati Museum or train station museum, it's got a great big lawn in front of it with flowers and.
Yeah, the terminal hasn't been an actual station
really
for
nice.
a long time. It is more of just like a tourist attraction at this point.
Yeah, the inside looks cool too. It's like gold arches. It's really nice at night. See, they should have done a night shot. All those windows.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do like the engraving, but that particular shot is not as interesting as it could have been. Maybe they don't want to give away too much.
Yeah. They don't want to show off like anybody who might have been in front of it at the time or whatever. Probably saving a reveal with the Justice League standing in front of it for some future movie or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you want to talk about the debut that happened this weekend?
Oh, you mean Saba? Saba's debut. Yeah.
Saba.
trying to remember her full name.
Yeah,
It was like Saba Samiko, I think.
Samiko Saba.
Yeah. I got the names right.
Yeah,
Just in the order. The formerly
Gargura returns.
Yeah, the artist formerly known as Gargura, but technically, when you work at an organization like that, no matter how much of your own personality that you put into the character, you are still just playing a character that's owned by organization. So she was never actually Gura.
No.
Gura was just a character that was very close to who she was. So a lot of that is going to come over, but this character is going to be more her than Gura ever was because she's independent, she's free, she could do whatever she wants now, and she's just like cute, the blonde hair, fish girl, but also has like fox ears. I'm not even sure if they're like fox or cat ears or something. They're long and they're pointy.
Yeah, maybe cat.
Chihuahua ears.
Yeah, she's definitely more chibi cute than before. I think she doesn't have the shark teeth.
Yeah. It was a nice debut. I watched the whole thing from start to finish. I had my notification sent on for it. I was already there in the waiting where it said like blank minutes to start, waiting on Saba to start the show and everything. It was a pretty fun event. She was very nervous.
I just watched the beginning. Well, she pretended to be, yeah.
I don't know how much of it was pretending. Like obviously some of it was, but she said before, back when she was Gora, that she never liked debuts. Right? She didn't like the concept of how they were done. But it is kind of just like a traditional in VTubing to do like a debut stream. So she did it her way.
She's totally independent now?
As far as I know, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's just her.
I saw where she had like a big thing of like everyone that contributed the animation and all that stuff. So that was really nice. Like she pointed them out on X, all the person who did the background and person who did the rigging and all that. So I thought that was nice.
I thought the coolest thing, though, like I said, since I was there at the beginning, I was looking at the subscriber count. She had already amassed 500,000 subscribers before her debut, right? Because people knew who it was. Yeah, like you didn't have confirmation; it was only suspicion, but like everyone knew who it was.
Well, actually, if you go to the Saba, if you go to her X account,
I've been following it.
She announced it. Okay, and I think Gargura, that account, announced it. So, yeah. It wasn't.
It was like a poorly kept secret,
projected
intentionally, right?
Yeah.
What do they call it? An open secret? Everybody knows.
Yeah.
But obviously she had to play along with that because she knows that everyone knows. So it's just like, it's not like I have any experience doing this before. It's my first time VTubing, and it was cracking jokes like that throughout the entire stream.
Yep.
And then she did a karaoke stream the day afterwards too. So she did like back-to-back streams. Just actually very crazy because at the end of Guru's career, you might go 6 months in between a stream at a couple times. And then she did like streams every single day for a month when she was wrapping up. But like it would be, sometimes there'd be big gaps for like the last year or two of her streaming. And now she did something 2 days in a row. It's like, it's different now. We're coming back to it, right? And in the karaoke stream, she told a story again that she told at the end of her last karaoke stream as Gura about how she's traumatized by the song, is it called Mamma Mia by ABBA? Here we go.
Really?
Yeah, because the whole story was that she was always interested in singing, and she was brought to like a party for her family, and they had like a karaoke machine there, and everyone was like, "Oh, you like singing, you should go up and sing it. And they put like Mamma Mia on, which was not a song she was super familiar with. And yeah, she was kind of traumatized from that event. And she basically told the story the exact same way twice. Right? So it's like, you know, if for some reason you're not in on this now, you know. Like the 3 people in the audience who aren't up to date on what's going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess she was in what was the name of the
Hololive?
The Hololive, yeah. So I mean, that was
which seemed
like
awful.
a pretty long. Oh, really? I guess it's gotten worse.
Yeah, ever since I think they're technically public. It's like after they went like public and there was investments and stuff like that, everything started going downhill. And that's why you see within the course of 6 months, like 5 of their people left, or was it the course of 5 months, 6 of their people left? I don't know. I get those numbers flipped around, but they lost quite a few people, all graduating in a very short amount of time. Like half a year between Ame and Gura graduating, and then a few like people on the Japanese side. I think one other English person also graduated during that time. Every excuse was management. Every single time they said they couldn't agree with management.
Yeah. Man, Grok has no idea who she is. Try to generate an image of her, and it's these weird guys, beards.
Yeah.
Like, who do you think this person is?
She filtered a lot of people at the very beginning. You know, filtered a lot of tourists because I mean, her model is obviously a loli, as was her last one, and she showed at a certain point that the kind of like sailor blouse top that she has over her swimsuit can open up and reveal her tummy. And a lot of people were not happy with the tummy reveal because it's like you're sexualizing what they believe is a child's body. It's like, well, I mean, but she's an adult. Her model, even though she looks very young, her model is also supposed to be an adult. You know, it's a style.
Also, it's
a cartoon.
She didn't show any aspects of sexualization.
No,
that's really
it's just
stupid.
her tummy.
I was amazed that they're like, "Oh my God, you showed your ankle! How scandalous!
Showed her
like,
toes.
What are these people living?"
Which in today's society is actually even more scandalous than anything, you know? Just because of weird feet people on the internet.
Either like the 700s and, you know, or they're Islamic or something. Like, what the hell is wrong with these people? They just, oh my God, there's a child that's fully clothed and singing songs.
Yeah.
That must be sexual. It's like, what? Like, you're the only one on the fucking planet thinking about that.
Oh yeah,
Weird people.
But you know what? Tourists need to be filtered. That's just the nature of things. You got to have your filters. So it's a good idea.
Absolutely.
She even made a little joke about it.
Because they're not going to go away.
Talking to herself under her breath as if she was the audience, like, tummy day 1, tummy and toes day 1. Oh, I think I like this fish. What a bug.
Apparently the AIs have no idea who she is because I can't get them to generate an image. Oh well.
Yeah.
I was just curious because I saw on her timeline a lot of actual artists have posted some pretty, impressive stuff. All very wholesome. Like there's nothing.
Yeah.
Really nothing bad about any of it. I mean, what does she do? She jokes around and like sings. And
yeah, that's about it. I mean, she does talk about lewd things sometimes. That's just like. But I mean, hey, try to find any VTuber that doesn't talk about lewd things sometimes. Challenge level impossible.
I liked her driver's license or her ID that like her like she had one eye like halfway closed.
Yeah. And her height was like
with a weird face.
What was
35 inches, I think.
Yeah, she was like just 2.5 feet tall or something like that. It was pretty small.
Yeah. Or 35 centimeters.
Centimeters, yeah. So it's like a foot. She was over a foot tall, barely.
Yeah,
that was it. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And she's like, "Oh, they got the height wrong at the fish certifying place." Sex fish.
Yeah,
not
she's
male or female.
under one.
It's sex is fish.
Mhm. She's less than 1 foot 2 inches. Apparently, very tiny.
Which makes her like,
oh my gosh,
a quarter of the size of Agura. Canonically.
Yeah. So I went to ChatGPT. At least it was on the right track. I said, generate an image of the VTuber Samako Saba's downhill skiing because all the pictures have her at the beach. It generated a picture of Gargura downhill skiing.
I mean, that's close enough. That was another thing too. Was like she wasn't
Close
even
enough.
trying. Not that yes, she basically let everybody know from the beginning. But even in the design of her character, she wasn't even trying to pretend that she wasn't Gura. Like the bangs look very close. There's aspects of Gura's design. Like she's got that one kind of like pigtail coming out with like a paper boat thing, and it's very similar to like Gura's two pigtails. With like everything about the design is like, yeah, no, this is painfully obviously Gura, just differently.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's Gura, except she has the I guess cat ears or whatever they are.
They look very
She has the
fox
ears.
to me, like a fennec fox.
Yeah,
You know?
fox ears. Something like that.
Yeah.
That's too funny. Grok had no idea what it was doing.
Yeah.
Grok's image generation really sucks.
I'm just waiting for her to go, "Oh, Neo."
She
My
did say
favorite thing, too.
a lot.
She did. Paper boat. Paper boat was something she was just saying over and over the entire time.
So stupid.
Yeah. But one of my favorite things talking about filtering people, because there were a lot of people complaining about it, was everybody took the old Gura quote and just slapped it on Saba's face. And it's like, what? Are you afraid of a 4-letter word?
What, like Gura?
No, lowly. This is the context of the original
I see.
clip. Because like the entire time, like again, talk about tourists. If you actually watched Gura, one, she always liked lolis and stuff, and she always called herself a loli. As far as like fashion aesthetics, she's basically a lolicon herself. And people be like, "Don't use that word." She's like, "What? Are you afraid of a little 4-letter word?"
Yeah. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just it's crazy how the people complaining are literally the only ones like associating her with
Oh, yeah.
disgusting thing. But
Yeah.
whatever. She didn't care. She's got 1 million subscribers now, it looks like.
Oh, has it hit that? That's what I was saying about the subscribers before. So she was at like
I'm sure.
500 and maybe 50, almost 60,000 when the stream started. By the end of the stream, she'd already gained up to like 630,000. So almost another 100,000 in just that stream. And I've like, yeah, at the rate she's going, especially there's a lot of people who weren't following along. Maybe they didn't see the previews. They didn't know this was like the artist formerly known as Gura coming back. But by these couple of streams, like she's going to hit 1 million again in no time. She's probably going to hit her previous peak, which she ended at like 4.7 million, way faster than she even hit it the first time.
Yeah. It looks like 968,000.
Yeah, so she's close.
Which is up to.
Yeah.
After 1 day. That's crazy. Or 2 days.
Yeah.
I think it's 2 days.
Because she did have 2 different streams.
It's popular. It's very, very popular. I mean, clearly it's like to have that many people subscribe, it's like clearly it's not.
You're doing something right.
there's nothing wrong with her show.
Well, okay.
People find it entertaining.
that causally isn't related. People can find a lot of things entertaining that are pretty wrong, but I'm gonna say that that's true here. But I can think of a lot of things that people watch that are wrong that are also entertaining and popular.
I guess.
Yeah.
But you would think that if there was anything seriously wrong with it, then YouTube wouldn't.
Oh
wouldn't
yeah.
allow it,
If something's seriously wrong, YouTube probably would have taken it down by now.
Yeah.
But there's not anything different than what she's been doing. Like if this was wrong, there'd be all of HoloLive would be taken down. A lot of YouTubers in general would be taken down. And it seems the only people that are doing that is Twitch, who's like banning VTubers just for showing a little hip. So YouTube surprisingly is just more based in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's nice to see someone who voluntarily, moved on from a company that she didn't like, and
Yeah.
doing it on her own now.
Yeah. So I do have some casting news if you want to move on to something else.
Sure.
Yeah. So there's a Street Fighter movie that's coming up that we've been talking about for a while. We talked about the Chun-Li casting recently. This Street Fighter movie was announced, I think, after the Mortal Kombat movie was successful, so it's kind of been in pre-production for quite a while now. They're like, okay, if Mortal Kombat is successful, we got to make a new Street Fighter movie too to compete against them. I'm assuming that's probably what happened at the Capcom board meeting. But we've got casting for both Dan and Balrog now. Balrog is... I just had it in front of me. Oh, Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent, is going to be playing Balrog. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess I could kind of see it. I'm not the biggest fan of 50 Cent's acting, but maybe he won't need to act too much, Maybe he'll just have minimal lines. He'll show up on there, and they'll give him some choreography for some fighting that they can work through, 100 takes or however long it'll take him to do it right. So it's like, okay, that's all right. I don't have too much of a problem there. He could be a pretty big guy. And Dan, who I think is probably more important to cast properly if you're just going to even have Dan in a single scene, because unlike Balrog, who you could put in a scene and not even have him talk and it would be fine, Dan's humor is partially verbal, right? You actually would have to have somebody act as Dan, and he's going to be played by comedian Andrew Schultz. I'm like, okay, I could see that. I'm fine with that casting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's two more Street Fighter characters.
I never found the Street Fighter movies particularly interesting compared to Mortal Kombat. It's just like,
Well, didn't they?
It's a bunch of guys.
More than one?
Fighting.
I'm trying to remember. I know they had that one live action movie.
No, I never saw that one. So it's just a bunch of guys fighting. How's that different from? This doesn't seem very interesting.
I don't know.
Mortal Kombat.
Well, it's probably because you just don't know the actual plot of Street Fighter. Because I find Street Fighter's story more compelling than Mortal Kombat's personally. Even though I do still think Mortal Kombat's main setup is compelling. I like the whole tournament to decide the fate of the world thing is kind of cool. The Street Fighter has a more personal story, I guess, than Mortal Kombat does when you center on like Ryu and Ken. But like every character has their personal arc. Everyone's trying, like, Chun-Li is a police officer, believe it or not. Like, she's actually an officer of the law. She doesn't look like it. And she kind of has like this whole justice-driven arc because of what happened to her family. It's pretty cool. You have like Shadowloo as an organization who's trying to do bad things. They're like Team Rocket, but actually a threat to the world. There's some like fun, compelling things going on in Street Fighter. But you have to be interested into it, right? A lot of people don't even know the story of Street Fighter who even play Street Fighter because they just go in and play this versus mode. They don't even pay attention to the dialogue in the arcade or story modes that have happened.
You know, Chun-Li had a bad Tuesday, that's for sure.
Yeah,
At some point.
It's like,
Worst day of her life.
For you, the day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. For me, it was a Tuesday. Raul Julia killed that role, honestly. Like, but I mean, he's such a good actor. He would have killed whatever role you put him in. Last thing he did, too.
Yeah.
And I think it was one of those ones where he took the role because like his kids or something liked the game.
Yeah, he's going to play M. Bison or whatever.
I don't believe he's been casted yet.
Mm.
Let me look. What we got so far is we have Andrew Koji as Ryu, which I'm not familiar with him. Noah Centineo is Ken. Jason Momoa's Blanca. I remember hearing that one. I could see Jason Momoa playing Blanca. He's a pretty crazy guy. He's big. As long as they actually like paint him green or do something digitally to make him look green, I'm kind of fine with that. He's such a wild dude. He jumps on people at red carpet shows and stuff, like his co-stars. I think he could probably do Blanca pretty well. And Orville Peck as Vega. Those are the only ones, I think. Roman Reigns.
Who's Orville Peck?
I don't know. The wrestler Joe Ananoa, also known as Roman Reigns, will play Akuma, and he's going to be one of the primary villains of the film. Roman Reigns, he's a decently big guy. I mean, he's a professional wrestler. Especially if you did camera shots, maybe if they did some like digital masking to make him bigger, did like some Thanos type stuff. I could totally see him playing Akuma.
Mm-hmm. Did we talk about the fact that M. Bison was named after Mike Tyson?
Well, he wasn't.
But
the guy we know
switched the names.
The actual M. Bison was named after him, but he got renamed Balrog when they moved things around for us.
Yeah.
So in this case, 50 Cent will be playing a Mike Tyson stand-in.
Very good, yes.
Yeah.
Who is Violent Ken? Brainwashed Ken? Was there a brainwashed Ken?
Yeah, this stuff's happened several times throughout the series. Ken Masters, honestly, though, like, I think he's one of the coolest characters in the series. Because he's like, he came from like a rich family or whatever. And he's just like, I don't want to take over the family business or everything. I want to do something with my life and become a fighter. So that he went off, and that's why he's like Ryu's kind of colleague or whatever.
Are they going to have a Dalsim?
I don't know. Like, maybe. This is the only cast we've seen so far.
Oh.
That one,
I don't see.
she wasn't put in here, but we talked about the Chun-Li one before.
Yeah, it doesn't look like she's
built
quite right for that part.
Yeah,
but whatever.
Maybe they can do something. Maybe if they like really go ham, focus on that lower body workout, possibly. But I don't know. Just looking at her, she doesn't seem like she has the genetic potential to even get close. But she might. Who knows? Hollywood is really good at getting people close to their roles, so we'll find out.
They'll have to digitally enhance her thighs.
Or put like a muscle suit on.
Yeah. Something.
Yeah, if they go with her traditional outfit, like I said, because she has like some type of pantyhosing or whatever on there, some type of tights, that makes her legs look like really brown compared to her skin. Then like you could hide a lower body muscle suit, no problem.
Yeah. Joe's always thought Cammy was hotter than Chun-Li. Me too.
Yeah, it's gonna be personal preference.
I like Cammy.
Like I have more of a preference for Chun-Li, but I also like dark hair and I like thighs. So like those things go together with her.
Yeah, I don't have anything against Chun-Li. You got to compare. I guess you got to pick one.
Yeah, so each their own.
Yeah. Looking for other news.
But I'm also going to
Around
guess
the-
too that story-wise, this is probably going to be like maybe like a revenge plot. Because we know Akuma's going to be in it. They've said Dan is going to be in it. And Akuma's like one of the main villains. We know both Ryu and Ken are obviously in it too. It's one of the main plots is probably going to center around Akuma killing their master. And them, having to kind of like get along without him and maybe even try to take revenge on Akuma. I'm assuming that's going to be one of the focuses, just knowing about Street Fighter lore.
Is that Akuma Matata?
No. Akuma the Raging Demon. He was a disciple of, was it Goji? He was a disciple of the same school of martial arts that Ryu and Ken are.
Okay.
The Shotokan. Which Dan is too. Dan's just like really, really bad at using their style. Well, Dan's like bad at everything. He even tried to like mix some like Brazilian jiu-jitsu and stuff into it and some Muay Thai, which is why like he doesn't look like he's doing a lot of the same stuff. And he's just awful. Dan has very few wins under his belt, and the ones that he have are like joke wins. He's supposed to be a joke character, and he was training at the same time that Ryu and Ken were training too, like under the same master at the school. And they would often bully him. Like Dan would talk about something, and then Ken would crack a joke of like, yeah, you'd actually have to try for that to work. And he basically left with unfinished training. He's like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna make something of myself. I'm gonna go achieve my goals. Like, yeah, sure. Good luck with that, Dan.
I find it hard to get into the into the series, I guess, or into the IP.
Yeah. I know. I just think the characters are so cool, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's because they're basically anime characters. But like every single character's got like a really fleshed out personality, and some of them are pretty quirky and have cool aspects to it. Like one of my favorite characters from Street Fighter, who definitely will not show up in this, or if he does, it's gonna have to be strictly like an Easter egg, is El Fuerte, who is a luchador who really looks up to Rainbow Mika, is another wrestler character in the series, and obviously Zangief, who are, wrestling characters. But he also wants to be a chef, right? Like technically he's a line cook or a chef for a restaurant, but like he wants to be a good chef, but he's not very good at cooking. He's much better at fighting than he is at cooking. But everything about him is like themed on cooking because he's like, I will one day be a great chef. It's like, yeah, no, you probably won't, El Fuerte, but keep trying. And he's got moves like Quesadilla Bomb, Gordita Crunch and stuff. Very fun. He's a very energetic person. He comes flying, like doing a flip and power slide into the field, screaming, "It's super dynamic cooking time!" So, like, there's a lot of really fun characters in Street Fighter. Many of them that come way later and outside of possible references and Easter eggs probably won't show up in this film.
Yeah. Is Zangief going to be in it?
I would hope so, honestly. Like, the question is who they cast for him, but I would want him to.
Yeah. I think he was made more popular by Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh, I think he was always popular, but I mean, it didn't hurt, right? They included him in there with, in America, obviously, we call him M. Bison, because they were already popular characters.
I don't think M. Bison was in that movie.
It was.
Pretty sure he wasn't.
He literally said the words, You're not going turbo, are you, son?
Oh, yeah. I guess he was.
He was at the Villains Anonymous.
I didn't.
There was two Street Fighter characters at the Villains Anonymous.
I didn't recognize that.
Yeah.
Okay. Very brief. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I haven't seen Wreck-It Ralph in so long, too.
I guess the voice didn't seem to match. I don't know. Character. I only think of Raul Julia.
Yeah. And I think Ryu and Ken were in it, too. You know, like they like fist bumped, and then they went off to like tappers together when things were closing up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Man, a lot of Street Fighter characters. They must have just gotten a general license or something.
Yeah.
Or does
Well, I know
Disney own
closely.
Street Fighter?
No, not at all.
Mhm.
They don't even have like the media rights to it or anything. They just work closely with a lot of different game companies. They worked with Capcom. They worked with Sega. Like Sonic was there at the terminal, the Game Central Station is what they call it there, like Grand Central Station. The reason why I didn't call our show that is because it was already taken by Wreck-It Ralph. But he was like the hologram there.
Zangief not a villain?
Everyone. Zangief
Yeah.
is a villain, technically, but he's also not. It depends on the game and the storyline. He has been hired to work for Shadowloo before. It's more appropriate to just say that he's kind of like neutral and could be hired as a mercenary either way because he's really just looking for a good fight. That's his drive.
He wants to crush skulls between thighs like sparrow egg.
Yeah.
Joshua says it's funny they put Zangief in with the bad guys just because the director hated playing against him in the game.
Yeah. Like, I do think it's appropriate to say he's not a villain outright. You've had to fight him as a villain before. Zangief he's a wrestler, he's a fighter, he's looking for a good fight. He's often in the tournaments, but there have been occasions where Shadowloo has hired him to get in somebody's way.
And Pac-Man was just leading the group because, like, I guess a lot of like Alcoholics Anonymous groups might be led by an alcoholic, but not always. Maybe, I don't know. It was interesting that they had a good guy sort of leading the group.
Yeah. Though you could argue that both Pac-Man and the Ghost are villains to each other. But obviously, as the player, you would see Pac-Man as the protagonist, right? Like even him when he gets the power pellet and goes after him, like, this is self-defense. You guys have been chasing me the whole time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think there might have been more than one live-action movie because I think there was like a different Street Fighter movie that was lower budget, and I don't remember which one this was in. If Buck was here, he'd be able to tell me. But there's actually a moment in one of the movies where Zangief is working for Shadowloo in that movie, and then at the end, he's like, he finds out, he's like, wait, we're the bad guys? And he like drops what he's doing and leaves. Like, he didn't know he was just doing this the whole time.
Well, speaking of movies, apparently Megan 2 is flopping or definitely not doing as well as the original.
Oh, excellent, because they've had hopes for a Megan 3, and it's like, I don't know if it deserves it.
Oh, let me turn this back on. Sorry about that. Yeah, the trailers definitely turned me off. I was looking, I saw the first one because it was billed as a horror movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't very horrifying, but it's kind of a comedy horror movie. This one is more action, and it's like
it's starting to like resemble Team America almost.
Yeah. Yeah. What would they call Megan 3? What did they call Megan 2? Didn't they just call it Megan 2?
I think so.
Yeah.
I keep seeing articles about talking about what they're hopeful for Megan 3. This actor wants to be turned into a doll in Megan 3. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You might want Megan 2 to be profitable first before people get their hopes up for that.
Yeah, the trailer's focused so much on her being like that little robot character. I was like, well, that's not interesting. Like that's not at all what the first movie was like. So I don't understand these people changing. Well, I saw an article that said something about they were trying to do the Terminator thing where they went from horror to action. And it's like, or not, was it Terminator?
I mean, Terminator.
Yeah, they said Terminator, although Alien was more. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's no Terminator.
No, it's not.
Oh, I see. Because there's a 3 in the name. Yeah, they could just call it Mathregan.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or they could be really funny about it for no reason. And they could move the 3 from being the E to the A just to confuse people. Even though, like, 3 doesn't look like an A. Just so it stands out that there's now a 3 in the name. It's like, well, wasn't there always a 3? It's like, yeah. But you weren't paying attention to it because a 3 looks like an E.
Yeah. Well, apparently the runaway hit this past weekend was F1, the movie. Brad Pitt.
Oh, that actually seemed pretty interesting, too.
Yeah. Apparently made $55 million, so I guess
that's pretty good.
Pretty interesting. He is aging rapidly, I think. That just made him look older in this movie.
Could be both.
So, yeah. Although it had a budget of $200 million. Jeez.
It's like this weird arc where, like, Brad Pitt is slowly evolving into George Clooney.
Yeah. Yeah, is he gonna get white hair like Clooney? So far, he's still blonde. Pretty boy. And why do they have to make sequels to everything? Devil Wears Prada 2 begins filming, and I'm like, the first one was perfect. I love that.
Why do you even need a sequel to that? Are you running out of money? Is that the thing?
I know. Yeah, I'm just looking at movie news here, but
well, like, this is the thing about Megan that bothered me, because at this point, it's kind of moving into this, like, territory of a world where there's robots and humans, and there's going to be action, and they need the robots to fight each other. And it's like, instead of this weird comedy action movie, I would rather money, I don't know who you'd have to get it from, but I'd rather Cameron come back and do the sequel to Battle Angel Alita that he was supposed to do, which would be a much better movie.
Mm-hmm.
That, and I'd get to see Jennifer Connelly again, and I can never be mad at that.
Yeah. Man. I guess, has Jurassic World Rebirth come out yet? Can't believe they've got Scarlett Johansson in this.
It's like the Jurassic Park franchise is somehow slowly merging into the Final Fantasy VII franchise.
Yeah. Wow. It's got a terrible... Wait. Is this it? No. The Jurassic World Dominion got a terrible Rotten Tomato score, 29%. Far and away the worst. I don't know how this new one did. At least on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, debuted to a 58% score. Interesting. Well, that's better than before. Or better than the last
there was something that's like in theaters right now, that I think it's in theaters now, that was bombing pretty hard, and the only way, like, with the audience scores, and the only way that they could get the score up is that they're actually going around deleting audience scores from, like, anyone that's not one of these selected verified audience members.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really trust
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes. Like the only score that you can sort of rely on to be correct in terms of what they actually scored is the reviewers, and
Yeah.
I don't trust reviewers and the professionals. I don't trust them anyway.
Yeah. I think professional
Oh.
reviewers in general used to be better when they were like the
Mhm.
reviewer for this thing at this newspaper. And you kind of just got to know their taste. So you could be like, okay, well if their tastes are the opposite of me and they dislike this, then I'll know I'll like it or whatever. Or you got it from the paper who had the reviewer that your taste lined up with. Like, I don't know, if your local
Mhm.
paper didn't, you could pretty much get the New York Times anywhere in the country anyway. So maybe the New York Times reviewer lined up with you. But now we're
Yeah.
just at the point that you go and you find unofficial or unregulation reviewers on the internet who will tell you how they feel about it. And you're like, well, I know you like things for the same reason I do, so I'm probably going to only see it if you say so, right?
Yeah. Well, here's all you need to know. Ironheart, the TV show, got an 86% from all critics. Although, interestingly, top critics gave it a 58%, which is
Yeah.
quite close to the audience score of 55. Yeah. Ugh. 86.
Ironheart is the dumbest origin out of any character ever. Do you remember like
Yeah.
what her origin basically is?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, going all the way back, like she wanted to be discriminated against, or
yes, yeah. So
demanded that she was upset that her teacher was not racist.
yeah, it's like, yeah, but that stuff's already happened. Like you live in a world where this because of the people that you want to be like. Yeah,
Yeah.
so like just go be what you want to be, and then she like offhandedly because she wanted to stop putting up with the girl goes, "You'll never be Tony Stark." It's like that's the character's origin, is because she wanted to have some oppressive but also high goal to shoot for, and her teacher just offhandedly said, "You'll never be Tony Stark." It's like the
I thought her
worst
teacher was like, you
character.
could be anything.
Yeah, at first she was
Her
like, "You
teacher
can
was
be
like,
anything you can want."
yeah,
But then she kept pushing and she kept pouting, and when the teacher referred to her desk, she just kind of like gives in and says, "You'll never be Tony Stark." Like even the expression on the teacher's face when she says that is like an adult who gave in to like the demands of a kid.
yeah. I demand that you
Yeah.
insult me or whatever. Yeah.
She's like, "Fine, you'll never be Tony Stark."
And then basically she steal it? Didn't she
Yeah.
steal the
She didn't even actually make the first suit
Iron Man
herself.
outfit?
She stole
Yeah.
a suit that was kind of actually abandoned, but still, she stole a suit, deconstructed it, and then reconstructed her own. It's like, okay, but me pulling apart my family computer and putting it back together, even though I now know how the computer operates, was not me building a computer.
Yeah, like why would they write it like that? It's like, do they think, oh well, if we write an over the top, ridiculous, racist teacher won't be believable because
You'll have to ask
or
Brian
maybe
Michael
they
Bendis.
um, maybe he thought, well, I don't want to insult teachers in general, like, because teachers are their favorite thing. It's really strange.
It almost feels like at first it feels like a parody of a superhero. And if that's what you continued to run with, it might have actually even been fine. Right?
Yeah. So Vistriza says in the show she wants attention, so she builds power armor, is mad that she doesn't own the power armor she built. Oh, did she build it for someone else and then she
Maybe.
stole it?
I guess they're trying to like
Whatever.
make it more of her accomplishment in the show version, which I guess is probably the better way to do it. Like if you have to try to salvage this character at all, personally, there's only two things you can do. Either you make her like an anti-hero. I think she could be fine as an actual anti-hero, which also still changes her origin a bit, but going off that initial moment, making her an anti-hero would work. Or You have to completely change her origin story altogether and make her a different character who is just a skin suit of herself. But in this one case, that might actually be the benefit of the character, to just have them be a skin suit of themselves.
Yeah, I'm sick of these anti-heroes. I don't even think she would be good as that. I think she'd be a good villain. Just make her a flat out villain. Just like, steals the suit. But like, you could make it an interesting show. Like I remember in the comics, she took over a whole country or something, like as an authoritarian dictator, and that was supposed to be good, I guess, in the comic. But yeah, just portray her as a flat out villain.
Oh, Riri was just an awful character from start to current.
Yeah. But yeah, you can make her good, but you just have to change it.
Everything.
Like, why not make her evil? It would be a good character. Yeah. Like, she's clearly psychotic or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know why they. I don't know why they
clearly a narcissist,
come up with these
for sure, right? And if you expand that into like a megalomaniacal narcissist, which she kind of already borderline is one anyway, yeah, you could make her an interesting villain character.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the interesting movie news I can find.
Well, we're also past the end of the show. We're, so we can end it right here. Thank you all for watching. I had a good time. I hope you all did too. Hey, if you did, go and share the show with other people. We'll be back here. You can share the YouTube. Like I said, we're going to be on Kick now, so we'll be back here Thursday, actually, for Game Central Junction. So share it out. And if you like the show, you can always give a donation to streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. Really helps us out. We'll see you then.
See ya. Thanks for watching.